Every child is a winner. చదువులో, తెలివితేటల్లో, ఆలోచన విధానంలో, నాయకత్వ లక్షణాల్లో వారు ఏ రంగంలో ముందున్నారో గుర్తించి విజేతలుగా నిలపడమే ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెసోరీస్ ప్రత్యేకత. ఐఐటి ఎంట్రన్స్ కు సంబంధించి జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ లో సంచలన విజయాలు సాధించిన ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెసోరీస్ విద్యార్థులు సిహెచ్ మోహన్ కిషోర్ 99.6 తో ఉభయ గోదావరి జిల్లాలో తిరుమల కాలేజ్ టాపర్, డి దినేష్ 99.3 తో పాలకొల్లు టాపర్, టి దివ్య శ్రీలక్ష్మి 97.1, ఎన్ అనుష 96.4, ఏ ఆదిత్య 95.5. ఐఐటి టాపర్స్ తో పాటు ఏ కేటగిరీలో రంగరాయ మెడికల్ కాలేజీలో సీటు సాధించిన మా విద్యార్థిని ఏ కార్తీక. అంతేకాకుండా మరో 10 మెడికల్ సెట్లతో పాటు 8 మందిని చార్టెడ్ అకౌంటెంట్స్ గా తీర్చిదిద్దింది ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెసోరీస్. పాలకొల్లు పట్టణంలో ఉన్నత విద్యతో పాటు భవిష్యత్తులో బాగా సెటిల్ అవుతున్న వారిలో అత్యధికులు ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెసోరీస్ విద్యార్థులే. మీరే గమనించండి, సరైన నిర్ణయం తీసుకోండి. అడ్మిషన్ల కొరకు సంప్రదించండి మాంటెసోరీస్ విద్యా సంస్థలు ఉల్లంపర్రు. ఫోన్ 222206. బ్రాంచెస్ రామారావుపేట. ఫోన్ 224200. కొడిగట్టు. ఫోన్ 228800.
Your heart is a pump. It's a muscular organ about the size of your fist and is located slightly left of center in your chest. Your heart is divided into the right and left side. The division protects oxygen-rich blood from mixing with oxygen-poor blood. Together, your heart and blood vessels comprise your cardiovascular system, which circulates blood and oxygen around your body. In fact, your heart pumps about 5 quarts of blood every minute, and it beats about 100,000 times in one day. That's about 35 million times in a year.
Good morning, students. Today I am going to deal with the 10th NS topic, that is the circulatory system. This is one of the most important systems in the human body. Now, what does the circulatory system consist of? First, we are going to see the circulatory system is also called as the transport system. Why is it called as the transport system? All the materials which are required for the tissues and cells are usually provided by this system, that is the transport system, and in this the blood plays the vital role. Now coming to the chief organ of the circulatory system. The chief organ of the circulatory system is the heart. Now what is the structure of heart? Heart is a conical pear-shaped muscular organ which is located in the chest cavity. All the vital organs of the body are usually protected inside the human body, and one such organ is the heart. The heart is a muscular organ and it is usually the size of a person's fist. It is usually the size of a fist. It is located in the chest cavity. It is also protected by the rib cage. It is present in the chest area. It is protected by the rib cage. The size is fist size. It occupies or it carries 5 liters of blood which continuously circulates inside the human body. Now, what are the blood vessels that are attached to the heart? The heart has got mainly 4 chambers. The upper 2 chambers are called as the atria or auricles. The lower 2 chambers are called as the ventricles. The upper 2 chambers and the lower 2 chambers, there are 4 chambers inside the heart. The right side is totally separated to the left side. The separation is done by the septum. This is a completely closed partition where the right and the left side of the heart do not meet. They do not have any kind of connection. They are totally separated. Now, the right side of the heart carries the blue blood or the deoxygenated blood. The left side of the heart, it has the oxygenated blood or the pure blood. Now, the right side is connected to the right atria is connected to the right ventricle. Left atria is connected to the left ventricle. The right atria is connected or it is open to the right ventricle through a valve which is called as the tricuspid valve. Among the 4 chambers, the right ventricle is the biggest one. it holds the more amount of blood. Then the left side of the heart, that is the left atria, is connected to the left ventricle by a valve which is called as the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. So once again I repeat, the heart has got 4 chambers. The right auricle or the atria is connected to the right ventricle. The aperture is closed by tricuspid valve. The left side, left atria is connected to the left ventricle with a 2, that is bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. These 2 valves allow the upper auricle blood to enter into the ventricle. The ventricular blood never passes into the auricles. From the ventricles, the blood is pushed out into all the parts of the body. Now, what are the blood vessels that arise from the heart? Mainly there are 5 types of blood vessels which arise from the heart or which reach the heart. What are those 5 important blood vessels? The biggest artery in the body is called as the aorta. This aorta, it rises from the left ventricle and this is the biggest artery in the total body. This aorta, it pumps the blood to all parts of the body. Now, there is one more artery. Actually, this is an artery, but it carries the impure blood, the pulmonary artery. It starts from the right ventricle. The pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood. It starts from the right ventricle and it leads to the lungs. Now, these are the 2 arteries. The 3 veins which are there, one is the superior vena cava, which brings or collects all the blood from the upper parts of the body. The inferior vena cava, which brings all the blood from the lower parts of the body. And these 2 drain the impure blood into the right auricle. There is one vein, the pulmonary vein, which brings the pure blood from the lungs to the left auricle. The left auricle receives the pure blood from the lungs. The pure blood is received by the left auricle by the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein brings the pure blood to the left auricle. So now we have learned about the 5 major blood vessels which receive the blood, which drain the blood into the heart or which carry the blood out of the heart. Now the heart also requires blood and the coronary arteries supply the blood to the heart for its functioning. Then the next topic which we are going to see is the valves which are present, already I have discussed. Similarly, the blood when it is gushed out from the ventricles, when the aorta receives the blood, there are valves inside the aorta also to see that the blood does not come back or it is not drained back. All the major blood vessels, they have valves to see and check that the blood does not drain back into the body. So this is a very, very important thing which all of you have to remember. What are the 5 major blood vessels which start from the heart? The 5 major blood vessels, once again I am repeating, they are the aorta, the biggest artery, the pulmonary artery which carries the impure blood from the right ventricle to the lungs, then the 3 veins, the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava and the pulmonary vein, the only one vein which brings the pure blood to the left auricle. These are the 5 major things. And the next bit which usually is asked in the exams, what supplies blood to the heart? They are the coronary arteries which supply the blood to the heart. The next thing which we are going to see is the differences between arteries and veins. Arteries are the blood vessels which carry the pure blood inside the body. Actually, the circulatory system is a network which starts from the heart and it reaches the toe at the bottom of our body and to the head part. That means all the cells, they receive blood only by this circulatory system. So circulatory system is one of the major systems in our body which supplies all the required materials to each and every cell. So the circulatory system is a network. This network consists of arteries, veins and capillaries. Now what are arteries? Arteries are the blood vessels which carry the pure blood excepting the pulmonary artery. Veins are the blood vessels which carry the deoxygenated blood, and these only one vein is there, that is the pulmonary vein, which carries the pure blood. The capillaries are the minute, very thin blood vessels which interlink the tissue and the blood vessels. That means the arteries will be ending with the capillaries and the veins will start with the capillaries. It's like a mesh which connects the arteries and the veins. The capillaries have a single layer of cells and the diffusion of the materials into the tissues becomes very easy. So, one more very important thing is the structure of the artery and the structure of the vein. The differences between arteries and veins. Arteries, they start or they pump the blood, they carry the blood with a great speed and a great pressure. So the walls of the arteries are much thick, their lumen is thin, and this is because the pressure inside the arteries is usually more when compared to the pressure in the veins. That's the reason why the walls of the arteries are thicker, more elastic, and their lumen is thin so that the pressure can be high. Coming to the veins have got a bigger lumen, less pressure inside, the blood flows with a smooth way, and the next thing is they are not very elastic like the arteries. Their walls are rigid because the blood flow is smooth and it flows slowly. It's not as speed as it is seen in the arteries. And one very important thing which we all have to remember is the veins have got valves inside them because they are flowing in the anti-gravitational direction. The blood which is carried from the toe of the body has to reach the heart and the blood should not flow back. So, automatically what happens is there are valves which arrest, that means there is a suction method. When the blood flows up to certain level, the valve does not allow the blood to flow back. It is stopped over there. That's the reason there are valves present inside the veins. These valves are not seen in the arteries. This has to be kept in mind, and children, this is a very important question which is usually asked from this particular chapter, the differences between arteries and the veins. These are the four major differences which I have told you. Once again I repeat, arteries carry the pure blood, their lumen is thin, their walls are thick and more elastic. The pressure inside the arteries, the blood pressure inside the arteries is more when compared to the blood pressure inside the veins. So all these you can refer in the veins also. The capillaries are the mesh or the network which connect the tissue with the blood vessels. Now coming to the next topic which we are going to see is the cardiac cycle. Now what is cardiac cycle? Cardiac cycle is nothing but, you all have understood that the heart beats, or it's a pump which pumps the blood from the heart to all parts of the body and it receives the blood from all parts of the body. The two chambers which receive the blood are the atria or the auricles. The two chambers which pump the blood out are the ventricles. Now, when this occurs, the first thing that happens is the blood is received by the auricles. The right chamber, the right auricle receives the impure blood by superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and this blood it is pumped into the right ventricle through the aperture which is guarded by the tricuspid valve. This is one session. When the blood is received, the auricles will expand or they will relax and the blood is pumped into the right auricle and the left auricle. This is called, then this blood from the auricles is pumped into the ventricles. When the ventricles receive the blood, the auricles will relax. This stage is called as the diastole stage. When the ventricles will contract, then the blood is gushed out from the right ventricle to the lungs and from the left ventricle to all parts of the body. This is called as the systole. So the love sound occurs when the left ventricle and the right ventricle pump out the blood, and when the valves close, there is a huge sound that is produced, and that is called as the love sound. When the blood enters into the blood tubes, that is when the blood enters into the blood vessels, the valves which are present inside the vessels, they shut, and this produces a feeble sound or a low sound that is called as the dub sound. So the love and dub, that means the diastole and the systole, when this happens together, it is called as one cardiac cycle or one set of heartbeat. The love dub sound is also heard at our wrist, which is called as the pulse. The pulse, it tells us the heartbeat, and the pulse rate or the heartbeat is measured by our blood pressure. This is what is called as the blood pressure. There is a uniform system of our heartbeat, and the heart beats all round the clock. That means there is no rest or there is no stoppage for the heartbeat. It's an involuntary process which occurs, and throughout, that is all the 24/7, it works all the 365 days. The day that mother conceives, the heartbeat is heard inside the mother's womb. So it is a continuous process. Even before our birth, the heart starts working. The next thing which we are going to see is about the pulse and blood pressure. The pulse is nothing but the heartbeat which can be heard at the wrist. There are points where we can hear the blood pressure or the pumping of the blood at some points, and mainly we can hear it at the wrist. So a doctor measures the number of beats of our heart at the wrist by pulse, and he usually checks the blood pressure at the elbow by the sphygmomanometer. This is a machine which is used to measure our blood pressure. This is the measuring of blood pressure and pulse. Then, along with the circulatory system, there is one more system which acts parallelly. That is called as the lymphatic system. Now, what is this lymphatic system? What is the work of the circulatory system and what is the work of the lymphatic system? We have to connect these two systems. The blood carries the digested material, the food material, it carries the oxygen, and it gives to all the tissues, all the cells. Similarly, it collects the carbon dioxide and it brings back the unwanted waste material which is left over after the metabolism inside all the tissues. So the arteries which are carrying the pure blood are having the oxygen and the digested food material. The veins are having the deoxygenated blood and the impure material which has to be excreted. So this process, when it is happening, when the capillaries are giving these materials and collecting the materials, some of the fluid material is left over at the tissue. So this tissue fluid which is left over after the venules collect the unwanted material, that is the deoxygenated blood and the waste material, the liquid which is the fluid which is left at the tissues is called as the lymph. This lymph, it flows through the lymphatic system, and the two major points, we have lymph nodes which usually have the WBC, and lymph nodes play a very major role in the immune system of the body because they have the WBC. The major lymph nodes in our body are the spleen and the liver. These two are the major lymph nodes, and these lymph nodes and the lymphatic system, it helps in the maintenance and the immune system of our body. Now, when the blood is flowing throughout the body, sometimes when there is an injury or when there is a hurt which occurs to the body, when the skin ruptures, the blood oozes out. When the blood oozes out, and the blood has to stop oozing out within a very short span of time, otherwise the blood loss will be huge. One more most important thing is, when an artery is cut, the stoppage of the blood takes, or it's difficult because the pressure inside the artery is more. The loss of blood is much faster. That's why even if you observe a movie, you will see that the injury or the cut is done at the wrist, because the artery at the wrist or any artery, if it is damaged or injured, the blood loss will be very fast. So to stop the blood, the vein when it is cut or there is a damage, usually the blood which oozes out, it is from the veins. So when the blood has to stop oozing out, we call it as a clot. How does this clot form? The clot formation occurs in this stage, in this way. That is, the blood platelets, they release thrombokinase. There is an enzyme inside the body, inside the blood platelets. It is called as the thrombokinase. It's an enzyme. This acts on the prothrombin, which is already present in the blood. This thrombokinase, it acts on the prothrombin, which is present inside the blood. Then this, what happens is, it is converted into thrombin. The blood, it is converted into thrombin. This thrombin again, it acts on the fibrin which is present in the blood in the form of dissolved material. It is in the dissolved stage. The fibrin is in the dissolved stage. So when the thrombin acts on this fibrin, automatically it changes or it gets converted into insoluble fibrin. When it becomes insoluble fibrin, automatically it changes into the form of fibers in which the blood cells, the RBC, WBC, they get stuck, they get linked up and a clot is formed which covers the total injury and automatically the blood stops oozing out. It takes nearly 3 to 6 minutes for the stoppage of the blood. And when the clot occurs, the liquid or the material which is left on top, it is usually in the straw color or light yellow color, and that is called as the serum. So now what is the difference between a serum and plasma? This is again an important point which usually is asked in the exams. Serum, it is the material which is left over after the clottage. That means it is a fluid and it has got a coagulant in it. Whereas plasma, it does not have a coagulant, it is anticoagulant, and usually when there is a transfusion, they take the plasma and not the serum. So the color of the plasma is also light yellow, serum is also light yellow, they both look similar, but the usage or the work done by both of them is slightly different. Once again, quickly I repeat, thrombokinase is an enzyme which is present inside the platelets. It releases prothrombin which is present in the blood, it acts on it and then it is converted into thrombin. This thrombin, it acts on the fibrin which is inside in the dissolved stage. Once it acts on the fibrin, it becomes insoluble fibrin in the form of fibers in which all the blood cells get entangled and the clot is formed, and this usually has to occur within 3 to 6 minutes. Just now we have discussed about clotting of the blood. The problem which is related with the clotting of the blood, the ailment of the problem is hemophilia. Now what is hemophilia? If a normal healthy person is injured, the clot occurs within 3 to 6 minutes. That is what we have discussed in the clot formation. But if a person is hemophilic, if the person is suffering with hemophilia, the blood does not clot in the given time, that is between 3 to 6 minutes. So what happens is, if an injury occurs to a person who is suffering with hemophilia, automatically the blood loss is more. And this hemophilia is because they are having a deficiency of vitamin K. Vitamin K deficiency leads to hemophilia. So it is very, very important for all of us to see whether we are having sufficient amount of vitamin K in our body or not, because that is again a big problem when there is a blood loss. The next common problem which is seen is thalassemia. Now what is thalassemia? Thalassemia is nothing but it is an inherited problem where the protein molecule which is present in the hemoglobin is not sufficient. The iron bonding is not sufficient, and automatically the person who is suffering with this thalassemia becomes anemic frequently, and because of anemia, the supply of oxygen to all the tissues and all the cells does not take place properly, and the person is usually anemic. they suffer with anemia, and because of that there is an enlarged spleen and enlarged liver in these patients. The people who are having this thalassemia, they have an enlarged liver and enlarged spleen. So automatically the person will be weak, their systems, all the systems will not be functioning properly because there is a lack of sufficient amount of oxygen. The person also becomes very weak because the metabolism does not take place because of lack of oxygen. All these are interrelated problems because of anemia which occurs in the thalassaemic patients. And the only method to rectify this is to have frequent blood transfusions. And this is a very common problem, or it is almost seen in many people who are having marriages within close relations. So this is one of the problems which is there in our syllabus. The next thing is the rhesus factor. What is rhesus factor? Rhesus factor is nothing but, in some monkeys in Britain it was observed that they were having an antigen, and these monkeys were called, these factors are also seen in the human beings. If a human being, that is 85% of the people are having this Rh positive factor. If a person is having this Rh factor, that is rhesus factor, we call that person as the rhesus, that is Rh positive person. If a person is not having this factor, these people are very few in number in the society. They are called as the Rh negative people. So if an Rh positive person gets married to a Rh negative person, automatically during the conception or when the lady becomes pregnant, there is a connection between the two Rh, that is Rh positive and Rh negative, and automatically sometimes the antibodies do not accept it. So when marriages are done, when there is a marriage linked between two people, usually they go for a verification of Rh factor also in the present society. That means an Rh positive person must go for an Rh positive person. An Rh negative person must go for an Rh negative person. This is a very, very important thing which has to be observed. And coming to one more very important point which is there in your syllabus is edema. Now what is edema? Edema is nothing but accumulation of tissue fluids in one area. When a person is constantly sitting in one place, the fluid which is left over in the tissues is drained to one place in the lower level towards the gravitational, that is towards the bottom. And this is a very common thing which is observed during travels. When we travel for a great distance and if the person is a little bit aged, we see that the feet have grown or they have swollen up. The feet have swollen up. So this swollen up nature is called as the edema. So to avoid this edema, we have to constantly move from place to place, or the feet have to be stretched so that the fluid does not accumulate when we hang the legs downwards. This is also a very common question which is usually asked in the exams. Now coming to the point of your exam, you all know that you have half mark questions where you have to write a single word where the questions can be asked regarding the valves which are present inside the body, or they can be asked about the valves which are present in the veins. While as the paper is having CC model, some of the questions will be logically asked. Why the lumen of the artery is thin, or why the lumen of the vein is having more area. This type of questions are logical questions which can be asked for 2 marks, where we have to give an explanation that the veins carry the blood smoothly, whereas the arteries give the blood in the form of spurts. There is a wave-like movement of the blood inside the arteries. The pressure of the blood is also more inside the artery. That's why the walls of the arteries are thick and the lumen is small, so that the pressure is kept constantly high for the flowage of the blood from the heart to all parts of the body. So this is one more logical question. Then coming to lymph. What is lymph and where is it seen? Lymph and lymph nodes, they play a vital role in the immune system. The WBC which are present in the lymph and lymph nodes, they protect our body from the infectious or the unwanted organisms which enter, and they maintain the immune system of our body. And because of this lymph and the draining of the lymph only, sometimes the edema occurs. The next thing is about the differences between arteries, veins and capillaries also we have seen. Then coming to the 4 marks questions, he may ask you about the structure of the heart, where if the question is asked for 4 marks, it is always better to have a diagram along with the answer. When you are mentioning about the structure of the heart, you have to write about the external structure, which has got the shape, the size and the covering of the heart. That is, this is again a very important big question. The heart is covered by 2 layers, they are called as the pericardium, and in between the 2 pericardial layers there is a fluid which is called as the pericardial fluid. This pericardial fluid, it protects the heart from shocks or any kind of injuries can be avoided because of the ribcage and this pericardial fluid and the pericardium which is protecting the heart safe inside. Then coming to the chambers of the heart. What are the 4 chambers of the heart? The upper 2 chambers are called as the auricles, the lower 2 chambers are called as the ventricles. The right side, it has got the deoxygenated blood or blue blood, whereas the left side, it has the pure blood or the oxygenated blood. There is no connection between the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart. The right and left, both the sides are separated by a partition which is called as the septum. There is a connection between the right auricle, right ventricle, and the connection is by the tricuspid valve. The left auricle and left ventricle are connected by the bicuspid valve, and this is also called as the mitral valve. From the left ventricle arises the biggest artery, it is the aorta, and from the right ventricle arises the pulmonary artery which carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Now coming to the veins, the pulmonary vein is the only one vein which brings the blood from the lungs to the left auricle, and this is the only one vein which carries the oxygenated blood. The superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, they collect all the blood from the veins and they bring it back to the right auricle, which is again connected to the right ventricle. Now these are the major 5 blood vessels, and the heart is supplied with blood by the coronary arteries. This is again a very important question. There are valves present inside the major blood vessels so that the blood does not flow back into the heart chambers. This is again a very important question. So when he asks a question about the heart and its structure, you have to write all this along with a neat labeled diagram. So when you are answering an NS paper, the most important thing is always draw a diagram for a 4 marks question, which will be an added advantage to your paper for scoring better marks. As usual, the science paper, it demands diagrams. So practice diagrams properly. Remember the small questions which will carry more marks. The paper model has changed. Practice for the CC. That is, they will be asking you a question which is related to your daily life. For example, what happens if an artery is injured? If an artery is injured, the blood loses more and the damage to the body is more when compared to the damage of the vein. Veins are located on the upper part, whereas the arteries are located in the deeper area of our body. This is the reason, children. So I wish you all the best for your exams. Prepare well, be confident. All the best, children. Thank you.
Your heart is a pump. It's a muscular organ about the size of your fist and is located slightly left of center in your chest. Your heart is divided into the right and left side. The division protects oxygen-rich blood from mixing with oxygen-poor blood. Together, your heart and blood vessels comprise your cardiovascular system, which circulates blood and oxygen around your body. In fact, your heart pumps about 5 quarts of blood every minute, and it beats about 100,000 times in one day. That's about 35 million times in a year. Oxygen-poor blood, blue blood, returns to the heart after circulating through your body. The right side of the heart, composed of the right atrium and ventricle, collects and pumps the blood to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries. The lungs refresh the blood with a new supply of oxygen, making it turn red. Oxygen-rich blood, red blood, then enters the left side of the heart, composed of the left atrium and ventricle, and is pumped through the aorta to the body to supply tissues with oxygen. 4 valves within your heart keep your blood moving the right way. The tricuspid, mitral, pulmonary, and aortic valves work like gates on a fence. They open only one way and only when pushed on. Each valve opens and closes once per heartbeat, or about once every second. A beating heart contracts and relaxes. Contraction is called systole, and relaxing is called diastole. During systole, your ventricles contract, forcing blood into the vessels going to your lungs and body, much like ketchup being forced out of a squeeze bottle. The right ventricle contracts a little bit before the left ventricle does. Your ventricles then relax during diastole and are filled with blood coming from the upper chambers, the left and right atria. Then the cycle starts over again. Your heart is nourished by blood too. Blood vessels called coronary arteries extend over the surface of your heart and branch into smaller capillaries. Here you can see just the network of blood vessels that feed your heart with oxygen-rich blood. Your heart also has electrical wiring, which keeps it beating. Electrical impulses begin high in the right atrium and travel through specialized pathways to the ventricles, delivering the signal to pump. The conduction system keeps your heart beating in a coordinated and normal rhythm, which in turn keeps blood circulating. The continuous exchange of oxygen-rich blood with oxygen-poor blood is what keeps you alive.
ఉల్లంపూర్ మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్ గత నెల రోజుల నుంచి ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసులు చాలా సమర్థవంతంగా నిర్వహిస్తుంది. రాబోయే రోజుల్లో ఇలాంటి ఇబ్బంది ఎప్పుడు వచ్చినా కూడా ఆన్లైన్ టూల్స్తో విద్యాబోధన సమర్థవంతంగా చేసే విద్యా సంస్థ మన ఉల్లంపూర్ మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్. అందుకే ఉల్లంపూర్ మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్ అంటే తల్లిదండ్రులకు ఓ నమ్మకం, ఓ భరోసా.
మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్.
మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్ మారుతున్న కాలానికి తగ్గట్టుగా వసతులు పెంచుకుంటూ నూతన విద్యా విధానానికి అనుగుణంగా అధునాతన టెక్నాలజీ ఏర్పాటు చేసుకుంటూ అత్యుత్తమ విద్యా సంస్థగా ఎదిగింది. ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెస్సోరీ అంటే చదువులో నెంబర్ 1, ఆటలలో నెంబర్ 1, సాంస్కృతిక కార్యక్రమాలలో నెంబర్ 1.
విద్యార్థి ఆల్రౌండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ కు చిరునామా ఉల్లంపర్రు మాంటెస్సోరీ స్కూల్.
ద లీడర్ ఇన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్.